I think the main politics of the country is in Manchester, isn't it? What have you made of what's happened with Paul Pogba's comments, what's happened this morning as well? These are extraordinary scenes, aren't they, with Pogba going up to Jose Mourinho? What's your take on all of it?
There's a power play here going on, and I think Jose Mourinho was well aware there's cameras there, really. But if you're asking me, because it looks like it's Mourinho or Pogba, who do I see in the right between these two? Jose Mourinho. They've both been there exactly the same amount of time, 2 years. I think Jose Mourinho's done more than Pogba in that time. Now, another question is for Jose Mourinho, should he be getting more out of a £90 million player or other players? But in terms of this, Paul Pogba, I don't know if Pogba is worth the hassle for what he gives on the pitch. And there's an idea that it's one or the other. So if Mourinho goes, we'll see a new Pogba. You won't. I can assure Manchester United fans you won't. No one plays for 2 years and then all of a sudden you change your manager and there's a different player. We're seeing what Paul Pogba is as a player.
What is he?
And, well, he's not as good as he thinks he is. He's not. He's got talent. But his big problem is his understanding of the game. It's been a problem since he come, and it hasn't changed now. And you can sum Paul Pogba's Man United career up, really, in his last 2 games, I think it is. He scored a great goal against Young Boys in the Champions League, showing his quality. But then just gets robbed of the ball on the halfway line, falls over, doesn't break his neck to get back against Wolves and an equalising goal in. And that sums him up. And there's talk of him moving on and leaving Manchester United. There's other clubs in the world, who haven't got Paul Pogba, who've been very successful. Barcelona being one.
But would he have the big clubs going after him?
He would, because I do think there is talent there. But talk of Barcelona, I can't think of a more ill-fitting player to Barcelona. Barcelona's all about discipline, staying in position, playing for the team. That is totally against everything that Pogba plays for. Pogba plays for himself, does his own thing. Mourinho, people saying, he's causing problems, he's taking the captaincy off him. But he's not really a captain, is he, Pogba, in terms of how he plays? He's letting his agent speak negatively about the club. Yeah, how can that happen if he's the man? He's that man for Manchester United, fighting for the club, fighting with his manager. Jose Mourinho never took the captaincy off John Terry at Chelsea.
So he's right to do that, right to take the vice-captaincy off him?
If things are going on behind the scenes, in training, in hotels, things that his agent's putting out, Paul Pogba's not coming out fighting for the club, he's talking about him maybe moving or other clubs would want him. That can't be right, and that's one of the reasons why Jose Mourinho would take it off him. Jose Mourinho's got his own problems in terms of the end of the season. Is he the right manager for Manchester United? But Paul
is he? Do you think he is?
I think at the end of this season, I think Mourinho has been on record and saying, after 3 years, judge me. I think when he come in his 3rd season, you'd be thinking, it's time to go for the title, I would say. Really, get them back in the Champions League, maybe make a challenge like they did last season.
How far off are they?
They look even further now, really. I mean, they haven't made a great start. They've gone out the Cup, so you do think it looks difficult for them to be there next season, really. But in terms of this confrontation, I'd be with Mourinho before I'd be with Pogba.
How do you see all this, Jody, from the outside looking in?
Well, I certainly don't think it's right for any player to come out publicly and start talking about we should be doing this or that. And I think Jamie's right. I think if you're supposed to be a captain, I think you should be leading by example. Now, whether that's you having meetings with the manager or you being vocal behind closed doors, maybe it might mean you shutting up. That might be the best way to be a leader, is not questioning what's going on and getting on with the job. I think, as far as Paul Pogba is concerned, I think the talent that he has, he could be one of the best midfielders in the world, but I think he's quite a way away from being even close to that at the minute.
It's not good at the moment at Manchester United. They're 8 points off Liverpool. They're out of the Carragher Cup. The Champions League is going to be difficult. There's problems with Paul Pogba. Jose Mourinho's not getting the best out of a number of players. How do you see this playing out?
Well, it's easier to take a manager out of the situation than as a player. We know that. I don't think we're at that stage yet. That may come to that at the end of the season, but there's still a long way to go in the season. There's still plenty for Manchester United to go for. Do I see them winning the title? No. Not because of the gap now. That can easily be overturned, but I don't think they're quite good enough, really, to be certainly taking or toppling
Should they be
Manchester
in his 3rd
City.
season?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Jose Mourinho, I think, has gone on record as saying in his 3rd season, so that's a bigger question away from Paul Pogba, really. But I think Jody now going into coaching and frank management, I'm sick of players and people making excuses for players saying the manager's not getting the best out of them. Honestly, get the best out yourself. Paul Pogba, if he's just a top player, people talk about his position, being given freedom. What is freedom? People keep saying that about, oh, he needs to be let off the leash, he needs freedom. What is it? Is freedom doing a stupid Cruyff turn on the half end and losing the ball and Wolves going up the other end and scoring? Being a captain playing centre midfield, Manchester United, like Keane, like Scholes, like the great midfielders before, is playing for the team. And that's why Mourinho took the captaincy off him, because he doesn't feel he plays for the team.
So should Pogba perhaps not even be in the team then?
No, I still think he's good enough to be in Manchester United's team. But is he
disciplined enough to do what Mourinho wants?
I don't think he is. And I think that's one of the reasons why Mourinho seems to be buying midfielders almost. It feels like people talk about Matic coming in, then Fred coming in. It's all about helping Pogba. Pogba, help yourself. You know, sick of excuses for big players and managers not getting the best out here. I had 5 or 6 managers here, different players. Now, I might have played slightly better with certain ones or others, but in the main, I think I played at my level, whether that was good or bad, whatever it was. And as I said, don't be expecting a completely different player if Jose Mourinho leaves Manchester United with Paul Pogba. You won't get it.